Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for a play-by-play analysis here with the Tier 10 American heavy cruiser, the USS Salem. As we're here on Okinawa, where we have a pretty good match for the most part in terms of the matchmaking. There's no CVs, granted we do have there's 2 submarines, but it's actually funny when you're looking at the overview of the match lineup. You'll notice that besides the Pommern, every battleship in this match is 457mm guns or greater. And so with doing this play-by-play analysis with Salem, and I've done videos on this in the past, and I'll tag them here at the end of this video. Salem works best around islands. Make islands your wife. Like, you marry the island. That's really how you make certain ships in this game work really well, and that's especially true for Salem and Des Moines. And I prefer Salem for many reasons, maybe a few more than Des Moines. They each have slightly different play style, but I'm going to go ahead and get into the play-by-play analysis strategy here and why I do what I do here in this game. As Salem is one of my more stronger ships, and I was fishing for a win. It had several games already, high damage games with no success, and so you just have to see how this game turns out at the end. So here on Okinawa, it's always important to understand when you're doing these play-by-play analysis, like how your lineup versus the enemy ship lineup, and then of course the map. We want to be paying attention to, because you have those 2 longer islands there in the middle of Bravo, so that kind of somewhat separates the map a little bit, not too much. If you have battleships back in the spawn, where you see them beginning to spawn on the map, like that Thunderer, which we're going to see later on, you know, they can shoot onto either Cap, Alpha, or Charlie Cap. So I just was briefly detected there. I'm kind of looking to see here, maybe a destroyer ran immediately on the Cap, and I'm thinking it's probably the submarine, probably the U-2501. So I want to get to the north end of this map, and so I go ahead and, because I suspect it's a submarine, I'm going to throw some depth charges out, because why not? And indeed, there it is. So we're going to dodge the first ping. He under leads it, but he does get the second ping off, and I could see he's moving to the left, so I decided to take a couple of blind shots. Maybe we'll land some shells. I'm not entirely sure. I'm thinking he's probably already got the torpedoes off. They're likely to be closer than what I think they are. And yes, indeed they are. And we're going to be able to get in here behind the island quite quickly. It's a little bit, can be nerve-wracking as you're like, wait, is there going to be a battleship there to punish me with that sub-spotting me as we give him another ASW charge. Now we have a Humphreys, the super American destroyer, out here on the left, but the Udaloy is quite close to us, and so we're going to be able to punish him quite quickly with 2 of our forward turrets here on the Salem, which are 203mm guns. That are fantastic. And when you're playing, I mean, pretty much any ship in the game, but it's especially true with like these cruiser type engagements, is that you want to limit your battles to 1v1 if it's possible. So we're going to back off so Mossville can't get any shots into our bow. So it's just the Udaloy running away, which is not going to turn into the Pommern. So I switched to AP thinking I can get some salvos into him, but he's turning out. So I go and decide to switch to the high explosives back here after firing this next salvo, since the guns are already loaded. And then, you know, we have the benefit of our high explosive guns, or high explosive shells, excuse me. Maybe we can incapacitate his secondaries, we can incapacitate his torpedoes, as that is going to be a focus later on when we engage the Pommern again. So a little bit of a fun push there he does against the Udaloy. We DCP'd a double fire earlier. We're not worried about DCPing this current fire, as we do incapacitate the starboard torpedo tubes there just briefly, as we're forcing the Pommern out and away. And we're going to try to take a couple more shots on the Udaloy. We want to push him away. We don't want him to think he can just freely farm us at range like that. So if I can get some more additional hits on him, that's good. Now you're going to see me repeatedly poke out to, or not poke, look to my right here, because I'm paying attention to see if there's any battleships that might try a cross map shot. You have that happen a lot at tier 10, and with this low island here towards my right, it is definitely possible. So you're going to see almost like if I'm paranoid, continue to keep looking to my right. So we need to focus a little bit more back onto landing some shells on this Pomeran. We're working to set as many fires as possible. So now I decided to go ahead and use my first repair party, as we do incapacitate his torpedo tubes on the port side there. And I probably could have waited. I didn't heal up earlier because I didn't understand this when I first started playing the game, is that sometimes you're farming your adrenaline rush where you don't want to just simply heal just because you can get a heal off. Like if you're relatively safe, then there's no need to use the heal if you want to be cheeky and get more damage per minute from your main battery guns and so forth. So, but I decided to go ahead and use it, and part of the reason is I was expecting maybe I'm going to end up pushing up here shortly, but we don't want to just yet as we lose our Humphreys. He's playing a little too aggressive, and with Moskva's 220mm guns, who have a very high shell velocity, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for him to avoid, you know, these shells versus like Salem, which has a longer, doesn't have as high shell velocity, highest travel time. So we're still throwing depth charges in towards the cap. We're also paying attention. Maybe I'm thinking we can get some shots here into the Vermont, which we're going to have to be mindful of his 12 457mm guns, because we all know, I think, what Brick can do. So I had to go ahead and push up here as we have our battleship off to the left. I want to support him, and we catch the Utiloi. He is going for the cap apparently, and you probably want to get some torpedoes possibly off on our battleship. But we surprised him, and we're using the lower right of the island here to prevent any possible torpedoes. Now I go ahead and decide to radar because I wasn't entirely sure if I would still be able to see Moskva or not, since the Utiloi got the smoke screen off to the right enough, and I think I would have still been able to see him, so I'm going to end up regretting probably using the radar here. I'll talk about that later on as time goes on. But you can see we're safe here, avoiding the Utiloi torpedoes, as we're just going to be focusing on setting fires. Now, this Moskva player, he actually messaged me after the game. We had a nice chat. He's a good fellow. And one of the challenges with a Moskva versus Salem engagement is that typically Salem just wins that Balwan engagement, or Des Moines versus Moskva. But particularly Salem, just because he had the super heal, which is what makes this ship so strong. As we get I think that's a perma-fire. I think he DCP'd the last one. So he's using his radar on us now. He sets a double fire on us, so we're going to go ahead and DCP that. I'm still checking over right. I'm watching the Vermont. I don't want to get too distracted and reverse too far. And it looks like Moskva might be trying to turn away, so I decided to go ahead and switch to armor piercing here, because we can definitely citadel him at this range if he decides to turn out. But he's not. He's just trying to get a little more tucked in behind the island there. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to finish him off there, but we do set another fire. In the meantime, we lose our Kitakaze and Wujing, so this isn't great. I'm still fishing for the sub. I'm trying to throw as many depth charges because I just know how painful it is for our battleship sitting there having to deal with the sub. Subs in general at the higher tiers are just pains to deal with. And so now I'm just evaluating the options, as we do have a side clone coming in. I forgot to mention that earlier on in the game. So we're going to be limited to 8-kilometer concealment, excluding radar, because even if you have an 8-kilometer side clone in effect for max visibility, your radar will always push past that, and we have an 8.5-kilometer radar on Salem. So one of the differences there between Salem and Des Moines is that shorter radar range, and trading off for some other things. Here I'm using the planes. I was trying to fish out where the Vermont's AA is, because I'd like to go ahead and run up on the Moskva, but I don't feel confident doing that if there's going to be a Vermont sitting just off to the side. And I think he has his guns all facing towards this direction for the battleship. And you see our sub pushing back in. And we're using another plane ASW to see what the Moskva might be up to here as our Lepanto goes down. So we're bleeding ships pretty bad. So I'm really wanting to make a move here. But at the same time, I'm not that good at a lot to my team dead if this Vermont ends up taking an interest in me. Now you just saw the sub ping there, and I'm like, I'm detected? What? And I can't see what's spotting me, and so I'm just guessing it's the sub. He's probably like periscope depth or something. But we do finally see him here. So our first guess was actually quite good, as we have a few seconds on our next His debut coming up, as unfortunately we lose the Montana there against the enemy Vermont. So this is just not looking good, so I really want to make these depth charges count against enemy sub. And now we have the Moskva pushing up, and it looks like he actually wants to come around and take the engagement with us, and if that's the case, we're going to let him. As I want to go ahead and start, with our 203, we can penetrate his bow on Moskva, as now we're going to try to get another ASW strike off here, so we're kind of multitasking here. And if I was the Moskva, I would basically just want to be going for the ram here. As I'm not sure entirely where the Pommern is, I think he's farther off over, maybe going to come into the east side of the cap here at Alpha. So we're just going to reverse, we're going to back off. And just finish off the Moskva here. So he kind of sucked. He didn't really have too many options here. He could have completely disengaged, of course, and going further around. But we're going to go ahead and damage control that double fire he sets on us as we get 3 kills there in quick succession. So that's really helping us out since we were down to 5 ships at the moment. And now I see the Pommern pushing in as we lose our main to the Satsumas, 5 10mm guns. So now what I want to do is I want to focus on taking out the Pommern, and we're going to utilize the island here. So there's the Pommern Hydra, and we're going to switch to high explosive. I thought he might be there broadside, and got our secondaries going back again as I shut them off because I didn't want to be the Moskva fishing guessing where I might be at. So we got a double fire there, so probably Pommern will DCP now. And what we also want to do besides penetrating the bow of the Pommern is we're going to fish to permanently incapacitate his torpedoes here on his port side. So now you can see me lift my shot, and boom, we get it on first go. So that's great, so don't have to worry about him torpedoing us. So that's one of the things that you can definitely do with ships, especially if you have a good DPM, good decent reload time, is aim for those torpedoes which are very vulnerable on the side of ships, and on Pommern, the torpedoes are quite vulnerable. Now he goes bow in on us, so we were briefly using AP, so we're going to switch back to the high explosive, another double fire, we're currently ticking, and we're just going to keep backing off. We have a friendly in Andalusia, I think it is coming up behind us. And we're just going to keep shooting his bow, and then I'm like, let's shoot his superstructure again. We've kind of damaged, saturated his bow, and we get a fire set as he incapacitates one of our main battery turrets. So I'm like, darn, I would like to get more damage here on the Pommern, or maybe get the kill, but I'm not sure what the Andalusia is going to end up doing here as he dumps his torpedoes. And he does indeed pick up the kill. And so I'm thankful for his help regardless. I can't be super greedy all the time. Napoli is now coming out, so we're going to instantly switch to our armor piercing. With Napoli at this close of range, we can easily citadel him, and we want to kill him before he can possibly get any torpedoes off. And boom, headshot. He's dead, but he only had 13,000 hit points. Now it's kind of funny. The Pommern is actually really unhappy with us. He didn't like our gameplay, but I mean honestly, with Salem, Des Moines, like you play around islands and you're isolating your engagements one-on-one. And why push when an enemy team's going to push into you, right? You kind of want to draw them in. Like that's how Salem, that's how Des Moines and several other cruisers work. You don't want to be chasing them. You don't want to be out in the open because, there's a lot of 457mm guns and 510s in this game. Granted, we haven't had to worry about any of those larger caliber shells yet. But that's soon going to change as we lose our Stalingrad to the Georgia. And now we're not going to worry about using our heal yet. For now, I'm going to farm the adrenaline rush. But I see there's the enemy, I think it's the Friesland that's down here. It's Groningen, I can't remember. So I'm actually going to burn a radar here slightly early because I want to help our battleship as soon as possible because I need his armor. I need his hit points if we're going to have a chance here in the game. So we do pick up the Groningen. We kind of begin to pre-aim. So we're going to try to get a 4th kill here, if possible. He's not moving very much right now, and now he's looking at us as we proxy the Confederate talent on Halsey. So our main battery reload time is reduced substantially now. So that's going to be fantastic for us. Basically, now we have a negative 20% reduction on our main battery reload time. So now you can see we're pumping out damage really fast. I want to keep my rear turret here on the Georgia because I want to kill the Georgia as soon as possible as he swings around his front 457mm guns as we pick up the high caliber. And just as he's about to get his main turrets around, I go ahead and I hit the heal slightly early because I very much know what a Georgia 457mm guns can do. But he aims low. We actually didn't necessarily have to use the heal there because now we have some additional time left. So now it's a 2v2. So if we're going to win this game, we are definitely going to have to get the kills on the remaining enemy ships. We get spotted. It's the sub. Not sub. It's the destroyer, excuse me. But we see the Thunder here, and so we're going to instantly switch to armor piercing. He's broadside, and we needed that heal because, you know, Thunder 457 high explosive just chunks us here, and we're going to instantly DCP that fire. So we can't heal anything further back at this point. There's a slight mess up here. So Yamagiri becomes detected briefly, and I went to switch high explosive to shoot at him. And I thought that my lock-on resumed on Thunder, so we're going to have several, not several, like about 10 salvos here that are just like really crazy spread. And I was getting frustrated here, and I didn't understand what was happening because I thought I was still locked on. And it's not only so about now, I think I figure it out. And then we get the lock-on back on the ship because every second counts at this point, especially with how low we are. And Thunder, if he decides to, he can easily finish us off here. And so he begins to turn his rear turrets on. So I want to try to present as small profile as possible. But it's not going to be enough because Thunder is quite accurate. And he takes us out here as we're going to end with 2 million potential damage. And I think just as the game's about to end here, we'll be at 279,000 damage here. So it was a fun game. The enemy bomber is going to have kind of a fun comment here just right at the end of the battle, which I think was hysterical. I was laughing out loud. It was a good game. I'm not unhappy with it, but, you know, of course you try, but it's not always the case that you'll get the win. But I'm very satisfied with the play-by-play that I did in this game that just happened last night. So with 279,000 damage with 4 kills, 17 set on fires, with the 2 Citadels on that Napoli, and then Confederate and High Caliber here and running Halsey. And with the loss, how much base XP do you think you got? Well, almost enough to beat the enemy Vermont. So we got almost 2,000 base XP on a loss. So we were trying to do everything within our power we could do to help our team out, but this wasn't enough there at the end. Here you can see, you know, Moskva 71,000 damage, Palmer 82, Thunder 52, just in that short engagement with him, and, you know, 21 there on the Georgia. So I definitely got the damage in on that short amount of time and taking 121,000 damage total. Like, that's just absolutely crazy. And then you can see our post-battle credits and XP here as well. So all said and done, I really enjoy Salem. It's a fantastic ship for the coal. I believe it's 244,000 coal, and if you use a 25% off coupon, of course you can get that down much lower. I think it's like 170 or 180. I don't know. I'm just guessing off the top of my head with math, which isn't always Flimsy's best, strongest of strengths. So I hope you like this play-by-play analysis. You know, we've had Ragnar and I think Friesland were the last 2 we did, so I want to switch back into a cruiser. So I do like doing these and kind of just breaking down my own thought process. So hope this video was enjoyable for you to see here and just rocking the islands here with Salem. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you are subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.